Thank you. Am I mic'd up now? Can you hear me? God, 28 minutes. So I have a lot to say in 8 minutes. So I have a podcast and I have a YouTube channel that I'm recording this later next week so you can see it, because as you learn about me, I kind of thrive as more is better, which my mantra is less is more. And there's a reason why I got adrenal exhaustion 10 years ago, and that we're going to talk about stress today. And anyways, I put this all in an ebook because we're not going to get through 200 slides. So I dove into how chronic stress impacts the whole you, and there's a lot of information. A lot of things happen to me, so we're going to go through a lot of the main things that happen to me that you might experience and don't relate. That's might be some stress going on in your life externally and internally. So anyways, heads up, this is an ebook and you can get it from me later, and then I'll record all this in like a 3-part series because there's so much to stress. So is anyone at their optimal ideal weight? Anyone? Hands up. So maybe one person I see. So it is a struggle. 2 people. So reaching our ideal weight is challenging, and if the struggle is real. And a lot of times we're trying to do all the right things, nutrition, keto, carnivore, whatever you want to call it. I call it eat real food. That balances your blood sugar, makes you feel good, and that ends up being what we all talk about, primal eating, proper human diet. But sometimes there's other areas we're not addressing that are going to impact your ability to burn fat. And if you were here last year, I talked about the holistic method. What I talk about is 8 elements to transform the whole you from the inside out. We'll touch on a little bit, but mostly chronic stress impacts all of that. So we'll get into it. So does anyone struggle with fatigue? Sleep issues? Yeah? High blood sugar even though you're eating low carb? Your blood sugar still goes up? Unexplained weight gain, and you're doing all these things, you're still gaining weight, and you don't know what's going on. Yep. And then sleep problems. Who wakes up 2 a.m.? I can't figure it out. A lot of hands. Next year I'm talking about sleep. I figured that out. Everyone's talking about sleep. We need to just focus on that. Sleep is huge. How you start the day, how the end of the day. Sleep and stress correlate. So I had all this stuff happen to me. It's been 10 years, 2013. I went through a lot of health issues and I didn't really figure it out until a couple of years ago. Thanks to COVID, I could change my life. I moved to Seattle, from Seattle to San Diego, North San Diego, and I found a way to slow my life down. I was living life as a race. I raced 15 Ironmans and I did multiple marathons, 50K trail running. But I was also running my own fitness studio for 10 years, teaching people of all levels. I figured out I can't just help people get healthy with just exercise by itself. Led me down different paths of certifications. And part of that was nutritional therapy, check, holistic lifestyle coach. And then I really wanted to figure out, okay, I can't help people without knowing these hidden internal sources of chronic stress, without running functional lab tests, and then becoming more of a health investigator, putting this all together to figure out how I can help people reach their goals to get their body back and their vibrant self back again. So I kind of be a health investigator and put it all together. So I've been following my passion and I figured out my purpose. Everything happens for a reason. Like yesterday I was supposed to talk, right? It happened, we rescheduled me today, but Nurse Cindy talked about the gut health. We're gonna talk about that, leaky gut, but I'm gonna talk about in 30 seconds. And then we're going to talk about kind of more holistic approach things and mindset. So we've got everyone talking about the same stuff. So I wrote a couple books, just more therapy, to explain, okay, what happened to me? Why did I gain weight when I just did Ironman Hawaii, my 5th time? I qualified Ironman, just did a marathon. I gained 30 pounds in a few months. I was doing low carb, started getting metabolic efficiency way back in 2005. I did metabolic efficiency testing on clients and myself, which is at rest and exercise, which I just am starting to do next month, bought all the equipment. So if you come to San Diego, I can test your metabolism if you're burning fat at rest and during exercise. I felt like I should be fit and lean and strong. I was in the best shape of my life in 2012. 2013, around March, I had all sorts of random symptoms. So even if I was doing the right nutrition plan and exercising, maybe a little too much, I still had what we call metabolic chaos or body system burnout breakdown. So I gained 30 pounds by that 2013. I lost muscle, I gained weight. It had nothing to do with what I was eating, nothing to do with my exercise. It was stress. External stress we'll talk about, and hidden sources of internal stress. Hidden, we say, as an FDN practitioner, stands for hormone imbalances, immune dysfunction, digestion, detoxification issues, energy system, nervous systems, and I had it all. So I owned a fitness studio. Luckily, I closed it October 1st, 2019, pre-March 2023. I thank God all the time. So I had that for 10 years. My stress was that. I was in Bellevue, Washington, high rent. It was $7,000 a month rent it got to over the 10 years. Every year rent went up. I used to have kind of the one boutique studio, then they all popped up. I used to do metabolic efficiency testing and low carb stuff and sugar detoxes before anyone knew what I was talking about. So I kept always reinventing myself, trying to help people, but that was constant stress. So you can fill in the blanks of what is your sources of stress, external stress, the hidden ones we don't know about unless we test often. And just if it, you don't have to be an athlete or run your own business. Studio is just doing too much of everything. So what did I learn? I kind of thought, I always think of it, that was the previous me, and this is the new me. I thrive as more is better, so now I know less is more. Too much of anything is toxic. So that in between everything I call the Goldilocks effect. Not too much, not too little, just that right amount, the right dose of stress we'll talk about is good for us. And then genetics. Why could other people thrive in chaos and I break down and burn out? Well, stress and genetics, it makes how much you can tolerate, might make a difference. And we'll talk about metabolic chaos. And then anything the word chronic, as you hear, isn't so great. So we'll talk a little bit about fatigue and all that. So I created 10 years ago the holistic method, similar to what we were just talking about. You need to work on the whole you. So as a trainer and a coach, I've realized training people, just exercising, personal training for so many years, I wasn't getting anywhere because I didn't know what people do in the rest of the time. How are you sleeping? How are you prioritizing your day? And how do you start your day? How do you end your day? So not just what you're eating, but when, why, how, but also movement. Exercise is one thing, movement's a different category. It's not the same. So I want you to get your steps per day, but then also want you to lift heavy weights, do some interval training, do some base training. But then we still need to sleep. So if you don't get your sleep, then you're stressed out. Right? If you eat the wrong foods, you're stressed out. So stress impacts all these elements. And then happiness, gratitude, play, laughter. How many of us get so driven and ambitious we forget to smile, forget to laugh, have fun, and let loose? As you're on vacation this week, doing things that make you happy. You'll see me every day. I don't wear black and gray. I wear bright, happy outfits. Yesterday, I thought I was speaking, so I had my bright, cheery outfit on. Today, my mom picked this out. I got a pink dress. Brought my mom with me on the trip. So being happy and joyful is really important. Smiling, having a mantra, that my mantra is positive attitude, positive energy, positive vibes. Because that negative attitude brings you down and you have all these elements impacted. So I call it the Goldilocks effect. Not too much stress. Chronic stress, we want good amount of stress. So eustress, distress, acute stress, chronic stress. Too much of anything can create metabolic chaos. It's that downhill spiral. Everything kind of accumulates. So we'll talk about the beaker of stress. So what is good stress? What's a good amount? Anyone doing intermittent fasting? Time-restricted feeding? Anyone doing HIIT training? Strength training? Hot, cold showers, sauna, we were just talking about earlier today. Anyone cold thermogenesis, kind of a thing, cold tubs, cold showers, which I cannot get the shower cold enough to have a cold shower here. But on and off intervals, that is a good stress. I always think of it as a leaky faucet. So we're going into turning the faucet on, turning off, but it's that constant drip, drip, drip. That is constant stressor. So the chronic stress cascade, metabolic chaos, is kind of this picture back here. All these things get imbalanced if the hormones are imbalanced. Too much cortisol, we'll talk about a little bit, which is a part you'll have to watch in the video because I can't cover it. But too much cortisol, hormones, stress hormones imbalance get this kind of domino effect. So I'll just back up to here. Whoops, this one. Distress of any kind contributes to loss of homeostasis, dysfunction, dis-ease, and eventually metabolic chaos. Dysfunction versus function. Dis-ease instead of at ease. Balance, imbalance. So if you don't treat these things or address these issues, ideally starting with lifestyle issues first, what you can control and choose to do, if they're left untreated, more symptoms appear downstream. Only treating symptoms leads to more dysfunction and symptoms that may be removed by the stressors found upstream. So that's what we call this metabolic chaos as FDM practitioners. So everything, a lot of it, low thyroid, cortisol issues. We'll talk about that. So let's kind of dive into chronic stress. What happens? Everything. So Cindy was talking about digestion. We'll talk about a little bit leaky gut, leaky brain, hormone imbalances, problem digesting your food, how you eat. What you eat is important, but how you eat, when, why, what, where, it's all important. So these are some things that happened to me. Remember, I was doing Ironmans and marathons. I was fit and healthy. I thought I was invincible. I thought I was a superhero, but we're all vulnerable if we have too much of anything. Stress will break you down. Every stress response is a blood sugar response. So nutritional therapy practitioner, this is what the first thing I always remember from NTP. Stress hormones can increase blood sugar levels. Anyone wearing their CGM or have had one? I know I saw guys on the track with the CGM. Stress. If you've worn a CGM, do you learn how you respond to stress? Anyone wearing the CGM or have worn it? Not just the food you eat raises your blood sugar, right? Other factors, sources of chronic stress, driving behind a car. If you're a little type A, AAA personality, to me, I found out if I'm driving a car and someone's slow in front of me, now I'm in California, I drive a little faster, and I have my Mini Cooper Countryman. It likes to go fast on the corners. I found that, my glucose goes up because I'm frazzled. I don't like being late, so that would raise my blood sugar. I like to be on time, and so just remember, every stress response will raise your blood sugar. Cortisol and insulin. If you get too much insulin coming out, so the blood sugar going up, cortisol will be up. So again, I'm flipping through these real quick. So we'll just kind of touch on these. You can read about it or watch my video. I'll do slower paced. So insulin resistance is a big part. I became insulin resistant even though I was doing low carb, focused too much on fat back then. I was living off of bulletproof coffee. Anyone used to do that? MCT oil, butter. I would make a whole pitcher. The blender, that's what I drank all day. But I was also training clients and teaching classes and then doing my own workouts. So I was doing too much of everything. I was living off of coffee with fat. So notice the relationship of your blood sugar, insulin, and cortisol. It's all connected. So if you kind of feel like your struggles, you're eating low carb, keto, carnivore, whatever your food plan is, you might want to look at your life stressors and then the hidden internal stressors. It overfills our beaker of stress. So think of our beaker of stress up here, hypothalamus, pituitary gland to adrenal gland gets overloaded. As I said, I gained 30 pounds. Like what? I just did an Ironman and placed top 11th in the world in my age group, and then I just gained 30 pounds. I wasn't sitting on the sofa having bonbons and eating ice cream. I was, someone's having trouble. Unexplained weight gain, it was a big thing. So cortisol can stimulate appetite, can create overeating. That wasn't me, but as cortisol promotes fat storage, visceral fat in your organ relates to the insulin resistance. Cortisol stimulates enzyme lipoprotein lipase, helps facilitate uptake and storage of fat in adipose tissue. Unexplained weight gain, muscle mass. I was lean and strong, but that muscle disappeared and fat came up. I was in a catabolic state. Slower metabolism. Who has low thyroid? And how many people, low thyroid is related to stress a lot of times. And there's different thyroid conversion issues, T4 to T3, all this stuff. So it's not just low thyroid. There's reasons for it. Liver congestion, gut dysbiosis. There's a lot to it. So make sure if you have low thyroid, it's not just your TSH, your TSH. You can get a book back there. It tells you how to read your labs. So inflammation in your body, what we eat, we're all working on eating clean food, but looking at foods that cause inflammation can be a source of stress. Dr. Jockers has the best infographics if you want some free info. I got a lot of his images. So metabolic slowdown. My thyroid is still low. So getting your reverse T3 part of a full thyroid panel is really important to see. Stress is on. Your body is trying to save yourself to run from that line. It's protecting yourself first. So your thyroid T3 will be elevated. Slow oxidizer. As I said, catabolic versus anabolic. Are you breaking down? Are you in a breakdown state? And that has a lot to do with how you're exercising too. Cell danger response theory. Have anyone heard about that? The mitochondria. Is my mitochondria, the energy chronic fatigue related to my mitochondria? So I started looking at that when I was feeling my chronic fatigue. The immune system. Nurse Cindy talked about gut health, but the immune system, if stress is on, guess what? I had every parasite, H. pylori, pathogen, overgrowth, bacterial overgrowth, lots goes on. So stress is on, your immune system is turned down. Chronic inflammation. There's a lot going on, inflammation. Chronic inflammation in the GI tract contributes to IBS, IBD, other digestive disorders. So remember, all this accumulates. It's just external stressors we can look at and control, manage. But then hidden internal sources of chronic stress could be a result of, but they also add to your beaker of stress. Some more leaky gut. So leaky gut, as Nurse Cindy talked about, affects everything. So if you have stress on, you might have poor, we'll get to the hydrochloric acid in your stomach. If you're not able to digest your food, you have maldigestion, malabsorption. If you have leaky gut, leaky brain, just a whole spiral of information results will happen. Great image of what leaky gut looks like. I won't go too much, but that's the tight junctions. That's why I thought it was great that I went after Cindy, because she went over the leaky gut. So stress is on. I always think of it as if you're stressed, the guards are gone. There's no one protecting your self-defense. So you're going to have more susceptibility to diseases, pathogens. I had, as I said, blastohominus, the first labs I was doing, a GI test will tell your pathogens, dysbiosis, gut imbalance, all this different stuff can happen from chronic stress, pathogens. So list goes on, and I had all that. Other thing to look at is how you digest your food. So what we eat, but how we break it down to digest it is big. So slowing down chewing your food, looking at, do you have enough stomach acid to break that protein down? Everyone's really doing a good job of eating more protein, getting their 20, 30, 50 grams of protein in a meal, but are you chewing your food 20, 30 times, which who chews their food 20, 30 times? It's very hard to do. Chewing your food, eating mindfully is really a big part of it. Being in parasympathetic state so you can digest your food is big. So if you don't digest your food properly, if you have low stomach acid, look at all the things that are related to that, thanks to Dr. Jocker's infographic. Okay? If you're not digesting your food properly and you have chronic stress in your gut, you can also have poop problems. How many people want to put your hand up that you poop every day? If you have poop, you should be proud that you poop every day. Proper poop, because we talked last year, a lot of people have constipation or the other end, diarrhea. And it's something as a health coach we have to talk to people. I don't care. I'm not going to gross out. I pinch people's body fat too when they're sweaty. Is just you talk about poop, because that's a good sign of your digestion. Because stress is on, people have different reasons. You can be constipated or diarrhea. So that is an issue, the red flag. Chronic stress on the brain, as Cindy talked about, leaky brain, leaky gut, leaky brain. How many people have brain fog, memory issues? I have all that, plus I'm 51 now, and so I'm reaching that time that everything kind of goes weird. So I must say, my mantra is don't blame the aging process, embrace the aging process. Don't do what you did when you're 30 years old, when you're at 50. You have to change how you train and eat and do things a little differently, not expect the same results. Because insanity means what? Over and over, exactly. So if it's not working, try something different. Experiment. It's N=1 experiment. This is a journey we're all on, and you have to make adjustments and course correction. Wound healing, another issue, chronic stress, sleep issues, another big issue. So we'll talk about that hopefully another time. So stress, realizing your red flags. Obviously, when I had my big awareness March 2013, it's because I was on a retreat and I was seriously low carb, probably too low calories, and just not eating anything because I couldn't eat anything, and I was exercising. And then we went on this dinner to a winery and had wine, and I was like, oh, I can't eat anything. So long story short, it's a chapter in my book, I drank alcohol. I was sick for a week, and I didn't enjoy that night because I couldn't tolerate toxins, the liver. So I had red flags ahead of time of that March 2013 when I got so sick from drinking wine that I want you to realize what your red flags are so you don't end up waiting till I did and have 10 years to get better. So you can identify your red flags now if you're feeling tired but wired. If you have to have a nap in the afternoon at 2 a.m., you're wide awake. There's red flags. If you have just aches and pains all over you, headaches, dizziness, high blood pressure, your immune system, you get sick a lot. There's tons of things that can be related to you're doing too much of everything, but it's those hidden internal sources of chronic stress that are overfilling your beaker of stress. So lots of reasons, chronic stress. Nutrition with Judy, another great podcast, infographics and books to follow from her. Chronic stress. So stress management tips I'll run through. Eating real food. As I said, I don't like the word keto, to be honest. I don't like calling it. It's real food diet. That's proper human diet. As Dr. Berry talks about it. That's my preferred way. I don't like titling everything. Proper digestion. Make sure you're breaking your food down. Eating mindfully, not mindlessly. How many times people are eating on the go? You're doing 10 things at once. You're having a snack while you're in the seminar, but you're listening and doing stuff on your phone. So focus on one thing at a time, and having the proper digestive system working and the proper enzymes should be released. Does anyone take digest enzymes before they eat? Not many people. So I think I saw one hand. Proper digestive enzymes are important to break food down. If you can't break your food down, you might not be getting all your essential amino acids from your great animal-based diet that you might be eating. So looking at proper digestion to get the nutrients and absorb them if you have a healthy gut, wall lining to absorb those nutrients we're getting. So getting herbals you can do to prioritize your stress management, cordyceps, reishi mushroom, ashwagandha, ginseng, rhodiola, those are some things to reduce stress. Liver, you want to get maybe some nutrients to support your liver. Eating liver helps your liver, but liver detoxification issues. A lot of times with my clients, I have to start with making sure our phase 1 and 2 of our liver detox process is working. And then phase 3, we almost have to start with first, which is your drainage pathway. So before you start any protocol, you want to make sure you're peeing and pooping properly and sweating and breathing, sweating, or respiratory system, so you're getting your exercise in. So we want to support our body with the food we're eating first, but proper digestion of that food so we get the nutrients we need. Exercise, not movement, exercise and movement. So lifting weights, heavy weights, we can do another time, but 3 to 5 reps is all I do. I've been lifting a long time. I'm not doing 15, 20 reps of everything. I'm trying to lift heavy weights. I'm reaching the other side, 50 of 50. So now really focus on how we embrace the aging process is eating more protein, prioritizing that protein, and lifting heavy things. Not doing the chronic cardio, 45 minutes an hour on an elliptical. I'd rather people lift weights, maybe do a couple cardio intervals in between that and do some HIIT training when ready. And then movement throughout the day, getting your steps in, moving after you eat. Even 2 minutes you can move and help digestion. Does anyone follow my rule when I'm on a cruise not to take the elevator at all? All right, high fives. I do not take the elevator when I'm here. That's my rule. Since we started doing the cruise, I do the stairs. 16 floors where the marketplace is. There's a lot of stairs to go up. So I take my shoes off and go up the stairs. So that's big. Other thing in my area, working with endurance athletes, and I work with all levels of athletes, but fasted exercise versus fed exercise. That's all I've talked about in my podcast the past year. When is it appropriate to not eat anything before a workout versus when should you eat something is a big thing. Because I was doing so much fasted exercise because I don't like eating before I work out that it could have added to my beaker of stress. When should you eat? During and after is something we talk about. And that's individual. Based on a client, I look at their ideal day, your ideal week, and everything. Mindfulness. We talk about mindful eating, deep breathing. Before you eat, anyone take a moment to slow down as I need to because I'm rushing. I have 3 minutes left to talk about 3 hours of topics. Mindfulness is huge. And all you have to do is take a breath and let go. You just feel 3 breaths before you eat. 3 breaths, 1 minute of breathing exercises help shift parasympathetic. Everyone know what sympathetic is? Fight or flight? What's parasympathetic?
Rest and relax.
And digest. Rest and digest and relaxation and detoxification. So you need to have resiliency between sympathetic and parasympathetic. Pushing pause, reset, reboot your computer often, right? Do you do that to your body? Do you do a little reset? Looking at energy robbers. There's things that we can control and not control in our life, like maybe family members that might be those toxic people, but they're family, so you deal with it. But knowing how to deal with stress in your life and identifying those people that just bring you down. You know, who or what can you change in your life to bring you joy and happiness and make you smile and laugh? Surround people as everyone here. Why come on the cruise to the conference every year? Everyone's fun, you're in your community, you smile and they uplift you. But can you take that, transfer it over to your own community, your own life, people that make you smile? And smile, see? Bring joy. And then self-care is self-love. I said that a lot when the pandemic started. Take care of yourself first. Put that oxygen mask on first so you can help other people. You have to love yourself first, as you guys should know, hopefully all know and do, before you can help other people, for you to heal, to be stronger from the inside out, to help digestion and make those good choices. The 8 elements of the holistic method, happiness is a big part of it, and getting that sleep and managing your stress, but finding joy is really important. Other tip, I find creating a spa-like environment. You know, when we moved from Seattle to North San Diego, we live in from Rancho Santa Fe, Solana Beach, Del Mar. I've got the beaches by us, but we live inland, and I look out to mountains. It's kind of calm. It's my peaceful place. And I have a sauna now, and I create kind of an evening routine to wind down. I do journaling, manifest journal, gratitude journal. So having your routine, how you start the day and how you end your day is really important. So does anyone do a manifest journal, a gratitude journal? Oh, one person? All right, good. So think of things you want to do to improve yourself from the inside out. Being more mindful, I think, is a good thing, as I said, but when you eat, taking time to reset, reboot. So all this I call the Goldilocks effect, the right amount. Now what you can find on my follow-up video from this is finding the HP axis progression. We call this stress response. So if you're a fight, flight, or freeze, I'll go into that later. And just last little bit, if I skip bound to lab testing, the doctor says you're normal. You know, testing and not guessing, we say all the time. And looking at what we call the HP axis system. So normal cortisol, if you have your blood sugar level go higher in the morning, and looking at what's normal cortisol pattern, but looking at that to your GI tests and other labs you can do. So I put my cards on the desk. You can find debbiepotts.net is my website, and the YouTube channel is Low Carb Athlete. But this is what I'll go over, like symptoms of low cortisol, high cortisol, and what I dove into is what is appropriate. Should I do fasting if my cortisol is high? Should I work out really hard if I have high cortisol and low? So that is all I have time for today. And I knew I'd have to go through that super fast. But hopefully you guys can get something takeaways and even work on breathing 3 deep breaths in and out before you start eating, chewing your food, working on mindful or sleep. So anyways, Q&A session we'll have later, so any comments. But thank you guys for listening on my fast talk.